Hi everyone. Today is Friday, October the 15th, and this is going to be sort of part two of the three-part series of book reviews that I wanted to record of these three books by Jim Rickards. The first one being Road to Ruin, the Global Elite Secret Plan for the Next Financial Crisis. And I made that one a couple days back. And then this one is going to be Aftermath, Seven Secrets of Wealth Preservation in the Coming Chaos. And then the third one that I'll record will be The New Great Depression, Winners and Losers in a Post-Pandemic World. So, oh, and actually, before I begin the book review of this second one, this Aftermath, I just want to thank you guys for putting your comments. It's really nice to hear from people. It's really nice to read your comments, and I'm not a what you call professional YouTuber. I'm just a mom, doctoral student, and former finance professional and human, basically. So I really appreciate reading comments and writing back to you guys, and and even just knowing that somebody actually listens to these book reviews. So thank you for that. So I will continue with my thoughts on Aftermath, the Seven Secrets of Wealth Preservation in the Coming Chaos. So this book by Jim Rickards, I mean, yeah, he still goes into sort of those very important ratios and calculations and models that you learn sort of when you're in a quantitative field, or when you're trained in finance and economics. You kind of learn this because you have to, but he teaches some of the nuances of those where pitfalls lie. And I think I brought this up in the previous book review on The Road to Ruin. But it's it's like the probability one, where every probability of a financial crisis occurring is sort of considered in isolation, or every probability of a big catastrophe occurring is considered in isolation. But he really puts that in the context of, no, you cannot do that really. You have to look at it as a compounding function in real life, because that's actually how it is. And he always speaks about this one, Bayes theorem, and I think that's another one that's really, really useful to know. If you don't know it, Google it, or even better yet, read his book or listen to his book. I prefer to listen, and then I write while, not while I'm listening, but sometimes like after a chapter, so I'll just kind of write my thoughts on that, because that's how I learn best, and I take in knowledge the best. So he goes into sort of these equations again. In this book, and I should say the timing of this book, he's written this book in 2016, 2017. I think it was published. I think it was published in 2018 or 19. But the process of him writing the book was in 16, 17, 18 maybe. And he does talk a lot about crypto gold. He does talk a lot about sort of how and I thought this was absolutely brilliant, this discovery of his, I would say. Though he does say it's not a discovery of his, it was something that was brought up to him by another analyst from Switzerland. And I wish I could remember that guy's name to give him credit, but he basically he talks about it as an equation of, and I did not write that equation down, but anyways, it's USD, no, gold divided by USD equals SDR divided by USD divided by SDR? No. USD divided by gold equals SDR divided by USD. And that's how you come up with a correlation, or not a correlation, you come up with SDR equal XAU, which is gold, as a foreign exchange. And then he talks about how that peg, so to speak, has been kept between SDR and gold, actually, not really the way we think about it as gold is priced in US dollars. Like, that's what we all lay people think. But he kind of shows that in the one chapter, which is SDR and gold. And then he goes into sort of the concept of maybe future currency being crypto gold. Now, just going back to that SDR and gold thing, that peg, he does talk about how it is a little bit rigged in a way, or it's being manipulated. He hypothesizes who might be manipulating it. I won't let that out as a one as a spoiler, and B as a because I don't know, the two bots may take me down. Who knows? Anyways, no, more as a spoiler, because whatever. Go ahead and ban the video. Who cares? I don't care. But he hypothesizes who might be doing it, and I think that peg, is a very interesting peg of about 875 to 925 SDRs equals 1 ounce of gold, which he also says that's kind of low for that, but I think that's not the way to think about it, actually. The way to think about it is this. That means if you suddenly have a huge issuance of SDRs, think about, and he also talks about that manipulation of that peg to keep it that, like which currency you should sell, which currency you should buy in order to do that, and who he hypothesizes is doing that to keep that peg. And, bear in mind, he's a former CIA guy. So when he hypothesizes something, I don't think he is putting on a tinfoil hat. And then, but to think about it sort of in a more practical context, because we all think about dollars and gold, but if you think about SDR and gold, and you start watching whether the SDR is going up or down, and whether there's more issuance of SDRs and these currencies being sold or bought, I think that will give you a really clear signal of where gold is really going. But anyways, I digress from his book. So the other cool thing that he provides in that book is he gives the reader 7 very concrete steps on or not steps, tips rather, because you don't have to follow all 7 or in any kind of sequential order. You can just follow whatever suits you. So one of them is to prepare for a very mercantilist world, and to prepare for countries holding on to commodities and having that made in the same country kind of thing. Mind you, this is pre-corona he wrote this book. So I think that's really cool that he calls that out as a trend, independent of what happened in 2020. The second one is to prepare for a recession. The third one was just brilliant, because some of you know that I'm getting my doctoral in psychology, and I'm very fascinated with psychology. And he really talks a lot in that chapter about behavioral psychology, behaviorist techniques, and behavioral finance, which is a field that I'm very fascinated by. Although my doctoral is in pure psychology and clinical psychology, I'm very fascinated by behavioral finance, because the way we move and live and invest and just be in the world, and the world being a place comprised of objects and things, and money meant to transact for said objects and things and services. I think a lot of our behavior and a lot of our psychology affects and is affected by our finances and our resources. And so I found that chapter really interesting. And he talks, the main lesson from that one is to beware of nudges. And he gives these very, these examples of how we are subtly nudged by sort of the opt-out option. Okay, so I'll give you a very like real example here with this. When you go on a website these days, they give you this like the cookie policy or whatever, and then you have to either click accept or preferences, and it's easier to click accept. And there's also, I don't know if any of you read the line that says if you just close the box, which is the easiest thing to do, you're by default accepting all of our things, which are like targeting cookies and social media cookies and whatnot. Here's another cool thing. If you click in, as I do, if you click in and say, no, I'm going to choose my preferences, I'm going to opt out, and only leave the necessary only, here's something that happens that I'm sure many of you have not thought about, but the behaviorists have thought about it. The cancel and accept all button is on the right hand side, and the okay, like confirm my choices, is on the left. Now that's very interesting because, and also now forget this, I'll take everything button is in green, but the yes, I confirm my choices, as you know, I don't want you to watch me, is in red. So just think about that psychologically. People are more conditioned and programmed to check something that's on the right hand side and that's green. That's just, that's just what we do. And so it's using that as opposed to someone who's going to be really paying attention and reading the words and not just following like, oh, it's red, it's red means it's a like, no, take cancel. No, actually in this case, that one is the one you should be clicking. So I thought that was really interesting. Anyway, so in number 3, he says, beware of nudges. 4, seek diversification with alternate assets. And here he really talks about, he takes that nudging a bit further. Because in those nudging is, the default setting of everybody doing their 401k, like good little soldiers. But he gives those kind of options in alternatives. 5 is low productivity, which is like from 2, right? Prepare for recession. He talks about how low productivity may equal an inflation or a deflation, both. Because a lot of us, I know these days a lot of us are confused. Are we in an inflation? Are we in a deflation? Because assets seem to be ready to deflate, but the prices are inflating. So what the hell is going on here? And he gives a really good strategy of how to hedge between both positions. He talks about it as a barbell strategy. I'll let you read the book to know what that is. But if you want to know and you don't want to read the book, leave a comment and I'll tell you. Number 6, prepare for an asset-backed currency with gold. That's his recommendation, but essentially prepare for an asset-backed currency. And I think that was very interesting given when he wrote this. Number 7 was again, allocate wealth to alternative assets. This may sound a lot like point 4, which was seek diversification with alternate assets, but it's actually not. In this allocate wealth to alternative assets, he specifically calls out on being ready for a run on gold. And what he means by that is when you sort of go with an asset backed currency, everybody is ready to go for that currency, right? That asset that's backing that currency. And the same way as they've been run on banks several times in the world, but anybody who trades sort of like GLD, BAR, IAU, what else is there? All these like gold derivatives, gold ETFs, silver ETFs, PSLV, etc. Like the well, I don't know. I assume PSLV is backed fully in or with physical metal, but the other ones, nobody's sure, right? And some people have hypothesized that things have been hypothecated and rehypothecated, and what that means, hypothecated and rehypothecated, is that it's leased out, and then the pseudo leased out has been again released out and again fractionally loaned out on other derivative products several times over. And if you want a more detailed definition, watch my video on understanding financial terms or definitions or vocabulary to increase your financial IQ or whatever, something to that effect. It was like a couple weeks back. Yeah, so that kind of run on gold, he says, prepare for a run on gold. Prepare actually for a run on assets is another, which really speaks to that sort of commodity bull cycle that we are seeing and that we're going to see more of, I think. Great book, highly recommend it. And I am going to record number 3 as a next video so that I'm able to actually upload this thing, because sometimes my memory on my phone runs out and then I can't upload. But anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And leave me a comment. I always read and appreciate hearing from you guys. And take care. Bye.